Picture a doorway on a London street, its threshold worn into a shallow curve by feet that no longer have names. Step through it, and you are standing where coaches once rattled into a cobbled yard, where horses steamed in the cold and tired people climbed down to find a bed for a few short hours. The George Inn in Suffolk is still there, on the road that travellers from Kent and the Channel ports took toward London Bridge. It is one of the last galleried coaching inns left in the city, and its timbers and narrow stairs remember things that no document records. Let us follow what passed through a place like this, slowly, across 500 years. Before there were inns as we picture them, a traveller in England took shelter where they could. Monasteries kept guest houses, and a pilgrim or a wandering tradesman might be given a corner, a little bread, a place by the fire in exchange for a coin or a blessing. Otherwise, you knocked at a merchant's hall and hoped for the floor. When dedicated inns began to appear along the trade roads in the 1300s and 1400s, they were not quiet retreats. An inn was a working building. The same long room that sheltered you for the night might hold sacks of grain, barrels, the overflow of a market day. Sleeping space was shared, a stranger's back close to your own, and the straw beneath you was fresh only if you had come early or paid well. In 1393, an act of Richard II required every innkeeper to hang out a sign, so the king's ale tasters could find the door and judge what was sold within. Those painted boards swinging above the street are the distant ancestors of every pub sign still hanging today. Yet the inn offered something rarer than comfort. The innkeeper, standing at the center of all this coming and going, was often the only source of news for many miles around. Who had passed through, what the roads were like ahead, whether the river was high. People came as much to listen as to lodge. By the 1500s and 1600s, the inn had become an anchor for trade. A cloth merchant might arrive with bolts of woolen cloth lashed to a pack horse, take a room upstairs, and stay 3 or 4 days while he did his business. Down in the common room, over bowls of pottage and mugs of ale, bargains were struck and hands were shaken. The smell of wood smoke and wet wool hung in the air, and a man could spend a whole afternoon waiting for the right buyer to walk in. In this world, the innkeeper kept a ledger, and that ledger mattered. It recorded who owed what, which goods had come and gone, who could be trusted to pay later, and who could not. Read across a season, such a book showed the slow movement of wealth through the kingdom. Wool going one way, coin and credit the other, all of it passing through one set of doors. The innkeeper was not only feeding travelers, he was, in a small way, keeping the accounts of the country's commerce, one careful line at a time. Then the roads grew busier and faster. Through the 1700s, as the highways were improved, coach services spread along fixed routes and began to keep to something closer to fixed times, and the inn changed almost beyond recognition. Passengers arriving by stagecoach were not staying for 3 days to trade cloth. They were passing through, often for a single night or only an hour, before the coach rolled on at dawn. What they needed was no longer leisure, but speed. So the buildings adapted. Stable yards were enlarged to hold fresh teams of horses ready to be harnessed. At inns like the George, open galleries ran along the upper floors, reached by narrow stairs, and behind them lay small rooms where many travelers could be packed close for a brief overnight stop. You can still see this shape in the surviving structure. The long wooden balconies, the cramped passages, the yard built for the turning of coaches. The innkeeper became less a host and more a manager of time, timing the meals to the coaches, keeping the turnover moving, watching the road for the next arrival. We should be honest about what this was like, because the coaching inn at its height was not a gentle place. Beds were shared with strangers, and surviving inn bills show that a bed to yourself cost more than a place beside someone else, the price of a night's privacy set down in pennies, line by line. Sanitation was rough. The air carried the reek of horses from the yard, the damp of travelers' wool drying by the fire, the closeness of too many bodies in too little room. A passenger might sleep 2 or 3 hours before being shaken awake in the dark to climb back aboard, stiff and cold. And yet people accepted all of it as the price of getting somewhere. Against the discomfort, small kindnesses carried real weight. A cup of mulled wine pressed into your hands when you came in frozen from the box seat. A fire kept burning through the night. A torn strap on a bag quietly mended by someone in the yard while you ate. Hot food, ready when the coach was ready. These were the things travelers remembered and wrote about, not the luxury, because there was none. The inn's gift was warmth and timing, offered to people who were always about to leave. Then, in the 1840s, the pattern broke. A journey that had needed a night's rest in the middle could now be done in a single day, sometimes in a few hours, and a traveler no longer had to stop at all. When a new line opened along an old coaching road, a yard that had thundered with arrivals every evening could fall silent within a season. The teams of horses stood idle, the whole careful machinery of the coaching inn, the timed meals, the fresh teams, the galleries packed for the night, lost its purpose. Many inns closed, their yards emptying, their galleries left to weather. The George itself was reduced over time. Much of the old galleried structure around its yard was pulled down in the later 19th century, and only one range of the original building now survives. But survive it did. Inns that lasted did so by becoming something else. Places for local people to gather, to drink and talk, to mark the slow life of a neighborhood rather than the rush of long-distance travel. The building stopped being a stage on a journey and became instead a fixed point that people returned to. Walk into a place like this now, and what strikes you is not grandeur. It is the ordinariness held in the wood. The floorboards dip where countless feet have crossed them. The dark beams have been smoked and handled and leaned against for centuries. None of it was built to be admired. It was built for the plain, repeated business of people stopping for a while on their way to somewhere else. That, in the end, is what these inns preserve. Not the great events of history, but the small constant fact of movement. A merchant counting coins by candlelight, wondering whether his buyer would come. A passenger at a dark window, watching rain run down the glass while the horses were changed below. An innkeeper bent over a ledger, drawing one careful line beneath the day's accounts. The endless, unhurried work of getting from one place to another, in an age before anyone thought there was any reason to rush. We move so much faster now, and we stop so much less. But the worn threshold is still there. And if you stand on it quietly, you can feel how many people paused on this same spot, set down their bags, and let themselves, for one night, be still.